Over our lives, we are exposed to many things that inspire us, whether it be people, their deeds, or some kind of art or media. These things have a way of touching something deep within our minds and pushing us to do and enjoy things that we might otherwise not do. Today on FraudOnTheTele, I want to talk to you all about an anime. An anime that made me fall in love with fighting. Hajime No Ippo is the story of a 16-year-old boy's journey from an average Joe to a professional boxing contender. Written by author George Morikawa, the series has been running in Shonen Jump since 1989 and is still ongoing as of today. Since the year 2000, it has received 3 anime season adaptations. The first, as we said, debuting in the year 2000, dubbed Hajime No Ippo, made by Madhouse Studios. The show ran for around 2 years, covering 76 episodes. After this, the show would receive a few specials and an OVA, after which it would go dormant as an anime until once again it was picked up for its second season in 2009, dubbed Hajime No Ippo New Challenger. The second season being made into a more digestible 26 episodes. Once again, the show would go into dormancy, re-emerging once again with Season 3 of Hajime No Ippo Rising, a collab between Madhouse and Mappa Studios, which aired 25 episodes from 2013 to 2014. The story follows Ippo, a young 16-year-old high schooler who spends most of his free time assisting his single mother in their fishing business. Ippo regularly passes up on spending time with his fellow classmates as he feels obligated to help his mother with their family business. Because of this, Ippo is, well, rather awkward and a bit of a loner, and as such, he is picked on and bullied by a group of delinquents in his class. Ippo, while being physically strong from his years of physical labor, refuses to defend himself, coming off to the viewer as, well, a bit of a pushover and a wimp, as the young man refuses to stand up for himself, simply accepting the beating from his bullies. One day, though, this all changes for Ippo. As he is being beat down by these high school bullies, a man who was jogging by intervenes. This, we learn, is Takamura-san, one of Japan's up-and-coming professional boxers. The man sends the bully running and takes the beat-up Ippo to his boxing gym to recover. Here is where Ippo's life is forever changed. Ippo is immediately enamored by the boxing gym and the foreign nature of it all, as he is surrounded by numerous professional boxers and hopefuls alike, all training. Takamura tells Ippo he should stand up for himself from now on, as he teaches Ippo his first boxing technique, the straight right, to which Ippo surprises everyone by his strength and his natural talent of learning the punching technique. Here is where Hajime no Ippo really starts to shine. This show, in many ways, in my opinion, set the blueprint for many future battle animes and shonens in general, especially in just how it does a fight scene. You see, this manga and anime are one of the most real and accurate depictions of a combat sport I've ever seen. There's a ton of fighting animes out there. Each of them use fighting in these battle scenes in different ways. Dragon Ball Z is the story of fighters who fight to strive to be the strongest. Baki shows a group of fighters who just really fight for their love of violence, while there's plenty of other animes and shows out there who use fighting as a vehicle to show many philosophical difference or moral differences. Hajime no Ippo, though, is a story about what it means to be a fighter. What it means to devote your life to a combat sport, to eat, sleep, and breathe it. To understand not only the physical effort, but the mental exertion needed to be a top-level boxer and to execute the variety of techniques. But also, like we said, Hajime no Ippo focuses on the mental side of it, as it shows the complex strategy in class of philosophies in boxing, the mental fortitude needed to continually put the work in needed to be the best. As well, the iron will that one needs to overcome an overwhelming force despite all the odds. All of this wrapped up in an absolutely stunning art style. There's something really unique about the way Morikawa depicts speed and power that are just so fascinating to me. To me, that's kind of one of the main special things about anime and manga in general. It's one person's unfettered vision of a story, how they want to tell it, and how they want to look at it and view the world. Within the first 2 episodes of Hajime no Ippo, Morikawa's love for boxing and its intricacy comes screaming at you. Here, take this series of scenes that we see in episode 1 and 2. Takamura has agreed to train Ippo in boxing if he can pass a test. He must grab 10 leaves out of the air, something which he learns is surprisingly difficult. Takamura gives him 1 week to achieve this feat, and Ippo gets to work. After continually failing, Ippo finally makes a realization when thinking back to how Takamura caught the leaf in the first place. A week passes, and Ippo, exhausted from his training, finally shows Takamura the fruits of his labor, as he lines up in his fighting pose, fists clenched, as we see him strike out, grabbing 10 leaves with just his left arm. Takamura stuns, tells him that what he's doing is a jab, and asks just how he learned it. To which Ippo explains, you grasp your fist lightly. If you clench your fist too hard, you lose speed. Then, the instant you touch the leaves, you snap the wrist back and grasp. I love the visual way that this whole scene is conveyed in both the manga and the anime, as you see in this one frame, this very small, subtle change that Ippo does, which makes all the difference. Ippo doesn't know this, but he has successfully learned how to throw a jab, one of the most fundamental and important techniques in boxing, in really any combat sport where you use your hands. And here's kind of the funny thing. You could actually use these panels or the anime to teach yourself how to throw a jab. I'm not joking. Someone could actually learn most of the broad techniques and fundamentals of boxing and put them into practice through this anime or the manga. Like I said earlier, in my opinion, one of the special things about manga, what makes it such a fun medium, is that it's one person's vision, one person's creation. And if this person just so happened to be a combat sports and boxing enthusiast, like George Morikawa, a guy who actually owns his own boxing gym, then his love and passion for the sport would be translated through every single page and every single frame, like it is in Hajime no Ippo. One of the reasons why I love this anime so much is its attention to detail in the portrayal of boxing. The series incorporates a drastically deep understanding of the sport, including its techniques, its strategies, and the physical and mental demands that are placed on fighters. But you see, it's the mental where things really start to get interesting in Hajime no Ippo. While being a battle anime, in that it is an anime about combat sports, people doing battle, it also simultaneously is a very non-battle anime. What I mean is that while there is a physical battle that is being taken place within the episodes, simultaneously there is a mental battle being waged as well, which we see play out on our screens. Oftentimes, many of these bouts are decided through a contest of strategies and maneuvers rather than just simply overwhelming an opponent through brute strength or physical force. Morikawa makes a strong effort to display the intricacies in boxing and the importance of mental fortitude, grit, determination, and strategy. One of the ways he does this is how he links certain characters with certain techniques. In a very anime fashion, a technique in Hajime no Ippo is more than just a technique. Oftentimes, it in many ways is the embodiment of that character. For example, one of the first signature techniques that Ippo comes to use and make his own is the Dempsey roll, a technique named after legendary boxer Jack Dempsey. The technique is relatively simple. The fighter lowers their stance and begins to weave their body from side to side, traditionally in a figure 8. Then they fire a series of rapidly executed hooks from both right and left, using the momentum of the weaving to make yourself harder to hit as well to generate more power for your punches. As well, the rolling allows the fighter to shift in and out of their opponent's vision line, making their punches harder to see coming. This technique comes to embody Ippo and his personality in many ways. Ippo's strongest gift as a fighter is his heart and his grit, his determination, as well he's got some pretty heavy hands. He's at times a very Rocky-esque character, though one that's a lot more lovable, with a lot more personality. Ippo does, however, have a tendency to suffer a beating, but then push through and overcome opponents through strategy and his raw power. The Dempsey rolls, as we said in many ways, epitomizes this kind of brawler boxer technique, a fighter who isn't afraid to stand in the pocket and trade and take some punishment, a fighter with heart, grit, and determination, and faith in the power that they possess in their hands and the strategy they have concocted. This isn't just true to Ippo though, it extends to numerous other characters throughout this series. One of my favorites being Ryo Mashiba, user of the aptly dubbed Hitman style and flicker jab. And let me tell you, Ryo embodies every bit of this Hitman part of the Hitman style. One of the early antagonists of this series, Ryo, upon first introduction, is a cold, calculating combat sports machine, at times brutally beating his opponent and even ignoring orders from the referee, but doing it all through this methodical hitman style, a boxing stance which allows the fighter to execute fast jabs by hanging their arm low in front of them. Ryo combines this technique with his flicker jab, a jab that is thrown from a lower angle in a flicking motion, allowing the punch to come from a variety of angles at high speeds, making it a nightmare to deal with. Combine this with Ryo's height and long limbs and his propensity for violence, and we got ourselves quite the interesting antagonist. The series, like we said, explores the mental aspect of boxing very deep, showing how fighters must overcome their fears, maintain their focus and determination, and deal with the pressure that comes of the competition. The characters in this series are depicted as real people with their own strengths and weaknesses, both physically and mentally, and the series explores how these factors affect their performance in the ring, all of which further adds depth to these characters. But more importantly, to me, it makes you care about them. While the story is about boxing and it masterfully displays the details of boxing, both physically and mentally, ultimately it's a story of people. A story of change, of facing your fears, of testing yourself both physically and mentally. I've always loved martial arts and martial arts movies. My dad introduced me to Bruce Lee when I was pretty young, a few karate classes later, and I was hooked. But I never really took it seriously, you know? Over time I moved on, finding new sports and things to care about and be addicted to. But something about Hajime no Ippo awoke something inside of me when I saw it for the first time when I was in high school. Like other kids, I got bullied and picked on. I even found myself getting into a few fights. Yes, I did get my ass kicked a few times. But after watching a few episodes of Hajime no Ippo when I was like 16, I found myself once again drawn to combat sports and martial arts. Not long after, I picked up boxing. A few years later, I started Muay Thai. And well, we kind of never really looked back. At first, I wanted to defend myself. Kind of like Ippo, I was tired of getting picked on and pushed around. But not long into training, I found that I didn't really care about that anymore. I wasn't training to defend myself or so I could beat up some bully. I was training because I loved it, because it was making me a new person. Combat sports and martial arts really teach you a lot about yourself. In many ways, it can be a kind of really spiritual experience if you want it to be, which I know sounds kind of weird, essentially when you're just two people that are hitting each other for fun. In many ways, though, it's beautiful. In many ways, it's art. There's something amazing to me in the way that Morikawa captures and depicts these boxing techniques. It's something that you really wouldn't understand or even see the same way if I just told you the technique and then just showed you the real life video of a person doing it. There's something uniquely different, though, between this and this, or this and this. But you see, it's this depiction in the manga and anime which gives me a greater love and real understanding and reverence towards the fighters and the techniques themselves that they use. No pun intended, but Hajime no Ippo just hits different, man. As always, if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hajime no Ippo is one of my favorite animes of all time. It's easily, in my opinion, the best sports anime of all time. And I look forward to reading your thoughts and comments in the description down below. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, Aru.
That night was ours, all the stars aligned and you were so damn fine, yeah. It was young love, young hearts were so pure. We trust love, it's so hard to endure. A few years passed, made the move out west. It became harder to maintain it, put us to the test. I hope you know I did my best. Every birthday and Christmas, scraping up every penny.